Hello, great to see you, everyone.
Hey.
Sorry for being late and letting you late into the chat and also adding stuff late to the agenda. So following up from last week, we have now Gdk Measure Workflow, which has the nice feature of being able to run the mentioned site speed scripts, and it's officially merged and is working. And I'm currently using it for the bigger repo browser. It's not simulation, but trying to figure out a measurement in the different use cases. The setup is super easy, so I will try to share my VS Code on that one. No, I need you to see you all in the middle of my screen and get VS Code to the side. And here we go. So the nice thing is that you just need to create like a new JavaScript site speed file in this specific directory, which is the measure_scripts. And as soon as you have that, you can then simply type Gdk Measure Workflow, measure-workflow, and then simply the name of the file. And that's everything that you need to do. It's automatically adding to site speed the commands for doing a single page application running with scripting enabled, and all the other things, adding to the right domains and so on. And overall, what I have added is a couple of mouse utilities at the moment to better simulate mouse movement, and also basically the lag of mouse movement, so that it's not just clicking, so that we can measure more accurately the rollover and the mouse over and hover stuff. And I'm using that part for basically simulating all the clicks through the different parts of the application. So we have the repo browser, and I would love to run through with you all of this. So what we have here is the classic exposure of site speed. So we have the Selenium overall driver and the web driver. Then I'm just having like a funky, easy encapsulator for accessing easier one of the mouse utils, because you need to hand over the driver and the web driver in different paths and the commands baseline. So what I'm doing here is that I'm just wrapping this up so that I don't need to write all the commands every time. You can do in here a meta set title and set description. So this helps you on setting simply if you would rather run multiple of them, to know what this site speed script is actually doing. And this is basically adding it to the report at the top, and you can see in the report, okay, what is the purpose of this thing. And then I'm going ahead and I'm basically preloading GitLab, simply the base file, so that I'm running like a hot cache. I disable the performance bar. This might be also nicer to wrap in reality to another util, so that we basically wrap all those 3 lines here. Then we run a command to set the body to nothing and the background color to white. This basically is helping the video to start easier, because otherwise site speed sometimes thinks that you are also trying to measure the previous thing and is doing like a funky switch. So this is like an official thing that site speed recommends to do. Then we navigate to the explore page. So this is in reality the starting step of this whole script. We wait until it's ready. We wait another 3,000 milliseconds, because otherwise it's trying still to register some of the JavaScript stuff. we inject the fake mouse cursor, and now here comes the most hackety part, is you can't simply activate again in Selenium to show the mouse cursor or something like that. What you need to do is, I can show you the mouse utils, you need to inject a base64 PNG of a mouse cursor that you're then basically moving around based on the actual mouse position that is being simulated in Selenium. I was not able to find any better way of doing that. So that's, I think, the most funky part of it. And then we are starting the actual measure. So that is what we tell site speed to start measuring. And we do then this click simulation, which is in reality doing simply wait a couple of milliseconds, mouse over the link that we are trying to click, wait like 300 milliseconds, which is the average that a user needs to click on something. Then we click it, and then basically the next page is loading. And those are the main steps here, which is going into a directory, going into another directory, clicking on one file, going back, and then going to another file. So this is a classic workflow that we currently see with users. And at the last thing, we are waiting until the page is complete and we stop the measurement. And that's basically then creating a full report in site speed, which is, I can show you one, which is in reality, where are we? I have so many site speed scripts open that. Is it this one? Can you see my mouse? Do you see the video right now? No. Oh God. Let's try that again. This one should be the correct one. So what you see here is now we land on the explore page, we click on the project that we are measuring, we are clicking on the, and there you can see also the fake mouse cursor, by the way, and then we are clicking into one file. And that's how you can create full workflows. The idea right now for the repo browser to measure the new Vue solution against the old Hammer solution is this journey, opening and going to edit one file and basically loading a huge file. And those are basically the three different workflows that we are then going to compare between Hammer and a new Vue combined app solution that we are trying to propose, if this makes sense. And yeah, so feel free to add your workflows on one hand. I think it's fairly easy. I'm currently also discussing this with UX and trying to get from data. My monitor is very wide. It's 3 full screens. So that's why I'm really testing my neck all the time. And what I want to see is that we get for all the 3 areas in dev, the 5 most common use case workflows that users are doing, so that we know, okay, a workflow a user is doing is going into a repo, is going 3 directories deep, clicking on a file, editing that file in the web ID. Okay, perfect. Then let's map this into a measurement and measure that at least on a GDK level. On production, it's a little bit more complex because you have changing data, but it also shouldn't be too hard. So we should be at least able to take one of those GDK scripts and rewrite it a little bit to use it also in reality against .com. That might be one of the next steps. But I believe the biggest advantage of this is, and that's what I'm trying to do right now, is that it gives us the possibility to compare really a Hammer solution versus a Vue solution. And the first results have shown that exactly this workflow takes in Hammer on the GDK 21 seconds, and with the Vue solution just 13 seconds, because we can do now this mouse preloading and then go deep and have already all that data available. One of the biggest steps that I could foresee right now is that we need to discuss also with the backend is really take all this rendering on the server and just rather do it on Monaco because setting Monaco in read-only, we have everything there. This is a huge load on the servers, and it's so much faster. I can show you even. This was the most surprising thing, and everyone who has worked with that file so far will not know exactly what I mean with that. Is editing team YAML. I'm not sure, Lucas, you have done this before, so if you go to the repo, Gdk plus zoom, never fast. And this is basically how fast it is now with Monaco just opening a file. Because what we do is that we already start, as soon as you just mouse over to click on something, we already start preloading the raw file in the background. And as soon as you hit the file, we already have preloaded it. So that's basically the instant. And if you go to Team YAML, then you have Team YAML with 30,000 lines, and basically you can go ahead, you hit the edit button, and you say basically test and can commit the changes. And that is basically where we want to get, is to take a workflow and make the workflow faster. And for making it actually faster, we need to measure it. And that's basically the first step in the whole process.
So quick question though, this is just a mock-up because the file size never changed, right? Like when you open the smaller file, it also said like 1 megabyte or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. This is like a working mock, I called it those. So it basically loads the files, but it's not updating everything here.
I mean, the routes also needs to be updated. So in case that, you know, you want to link someone to the edit file screen and so on. Yeah, makes sense.
This is like a classic POC. The idea is to make now those final measurements for all those steps between the current solution and this new proposal. That's exactly what is possible in the POC. And basically squeeze out of that an epic with the different implementation steps for getting there, which starts with taking this preloading directive utility to GitLab UI, getting a GraphQL endpoint to just give us the information of a file and not this whole pre-rendered blah, and so on and so on and so on, and hopefully get them enough focus behind it. UX is totally on board, and to really focus on this in the prioritization to have a much faster experience than now. Dennis, I would love to hear your comments because you're the master of editing files.
Dennis, you're muted.
Okay, I'll repeat. I'm completely shocked. This is mind-blowing. I have some questions, but it's just, you know, it's more to the point of nitpicking. Like, but maybe you have obviously you've thought about this, but when you hover over a file, we start preloading things. How do we deal with the double fetching? If, for example, if I hover over a file, but the file hasn't been fetched before I land on the file page.
It is done through Apollo. It's done through an Apollo cache.
Okay,
so basically, if you are faster than this, then or if you land through the route, it will simply go in the actual view of displaying a file. It will simply do the same Apollo call, and that's the nice thing.
So it will fetch it from the Apollo cache, right?
Yeah. So
but again, like if it didn't land to the Apollo cache, like if you're really fast, like you're just moving the cursor and click right away, like it won't be in the cache yet, right?
So or if you maybe go through what can you show a file that we haven't opened with tabbing? Like if you focus on it with the keyboard and press enter, because that theoretically should open a file directly without your hover logic if you implement it on hover, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doing the same call on this view than on the outside. But if you call it on the hover, it's already in the cache because now we have one state for everything.
Right.
We could even go so far, and that's step number 14, is you hit gitlab.com, the domain. We know Flight, in this case, is one of your most used projects. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's preload the tree. Let's preload stuff around this. And then you have like a...
How do we know this is one of your most used projects?
We are currently already counting this, but we would need to have better data on this.
Right, I got it.
Definitely, okay. One of the big things that we could do is, I discussed this once with the data team, is because I would love to have a feeling how many projects do you actually use as an average engineer. It is less than 5 based on there.
Sure. It's just like we just recently, I think we had this discussion in Create Editor about showing the most used projects to the user in the projects list, like not the most recent but rather like most used ones. And it's we don't have any logic for that so far, I think, to say that this project is, or like this project has been updated by you recently. Like we have the information about recently updated projects, no matter whether by you or any other developer, but we don't have this information concern on the user, like most recent projects for the user. We don't have that information yet.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
and also,
even without the step 14s and what we are thinking about here, what we can preload is already seems to be like a great improvement, right?
It's crazy. No, seriously, it's like it's mind blowing, and I'm really interested in this actually inline editing. I think about like half year ago, I had this POC for inline editing of the snippets, and but it just, it's permanently now a pipeline, and we never have time to get back to it. But this idea of combining the render, like to show the Monaco in read mode and then like switch it to the edit mode, this is pretty cool. But we won't be like, we won't get by as easy as that with the markdown files, right? Because we need to show the rich renderer there.
Yeah, that is something we definitely need to do on top of it. We pre-rendered stuff and also images. This is now 100% focused on just showing a file. So simply in the sense of, okay, we take a JavaScript file and show it. How fast can this be? Because the huge difference here is not only that we are doing this mouse over preloading. If you go deep down into the insights of GitLab, what you will see is that this pre-rendered stuff, and we can even do this here, is that GitLab website. So this is now, so this is currently, oh, what a coincidence. This was edited by Lucas. So what we are doing right now here is, if we take a look at the file, how it's loaded right now, is we call the API and we get an HTML back. And this thing grows exponentially, not only by just a small, we really literally, I'm not sure why it's not showing here, but normally it even shows me the kilobytes of that one attribute. And the problem here is that the timing of the whole thing, this takes 1.24 seconds for literally 5 lines. So what I do now is I open this whole thing in the new tab, and I will try to do some magic. And this is the raw file. And the raw file is not an XHR, is basically taking us 21 milliseconds. And that is also making the huge difference, that we are not rendering in a very, very intensive and very expensive way on the back end, something that looks 100% the same and even 10 times better on the front end to some extent, because we have all the Monaco implementations. We could even extend this way more, but this makes also the huge difference. I'm not loading this API call anymore, which is taking this 1.24 seconds just to load 5 lines. We are going for raw files.
This is actually super cool. I was thinking about this idea at some point, but I rejected this because our viewers actually provide some more abstractions comparing to rendering Monaco in just the read-only mode. Because, for example, you cannot at the moment. This is exactly what I'm going to implement. This milestone. Right now, you cannot link to a line in Monaco. So linking to a line doesn't work out of the box in Monaco. And I was puzzled to figure out that there is no such thing by default in Monaco. So we have to implement this. And I'm working on this now. So hopefully we will have like a single file or multi-file linkage for editor light in this particular case. But if we do the same thing for rendering, and just show it in the read-only mode, that would be super cool. Man, this is mind-blowing.
So the target is really to get, I just started before this call, all the measurements for the bigger files and the editing. And this will make a huge difference because we're not doing anything. We're just sending one line, set, edit, end of story. We would need to load an additional Vue component at the bottom to do all the commit funkiness. But if this is doable, you have a workflow that is is double as fast as the current one. And this is, I think.
There's one more thing to keep in mind. Again, like I'm sort of reflecting on all the discussions we had with the backend about sort of we have this problem in snippets, and we still have this problem in WebID where we cannot really load the content of a file before we get a metadata about the file that would tell us whether we can show the content at all. The reason is as we saw, we have the files that should not be shown as code, like Markdown. We have binary files that we should not show code for, and there are just 2 large files that we do not show the content, but we provide some download of the things. I'm not sure if this is the case for the repo though, because that's the scope.
It's like
it's 1 megabyte. But if we're talking about like really, I think we have the limits at the moment for. Oh, actually, I think one of the limits is 1 megabyte, and the second one is 10 megabytes. This is interesting.
Yeah, so we could raise this, and definitely that's one of the items on the issue on the Epic would be one of the issues is really get into GraphQL and endpoints to get blob info, to get that parsed. What type of editor should we show in which case? Have them nicely on Webpack loading only when we have certain types of files. Make this a little bit better around the loading. This is really just to show the vision of going from one implementation to another can lead us to way much faster workflows. This is, as you said, this is, I would say, thought through, but not completely implemented. There are a lot of things that we need to consider on the way, but it's way less than I would have expected. So,
but for the code files, this is insane. This is like, and it like when you open the file on GitLab.com now, it was literally painful to see that file opening. It's just painful.
Yeah, this is nothing. This is and this is even without optimizations at the moment. I believe strongly that we could basically create a virtual Monaco editor that already gets something maybe and starts rendering while we do stuff, etc. So this is all which I will leave with you and basically help to get us going from product and UX side into that direction. That's my next big step. Yeah, and expect some recordings hopefully until the end of the day. And I'm really, really curious what the timings will be in comparison. So. Cool. And as I said, step 14 might be a PWA where we preload even before preloading. But the other big step that I'm foreseeing for dev, and I just had, for example, my one-on-one with Donald, is to get the same model of combining workflows into one Vue application. I'm still not talking about Vue.js for everything, just one Vue thing. No. Don't get me wrong with it. It's just about getting stuff of a workflow. And that's why I think it's very important to get the data team together with the UX team into one place, multiple things that you do in combination. So issue list plus issue detail plus issue board, maybe one Vue app, this experience, preloading, snappy loading. Who is stopping us of simply preloading all your assigned merge requests with the latest content of the merge requests that have just changed the last 3 days as soon as you hit the domain, because that's the next big step. It's not just preloading stuff when you hit a page, but take GitLab as an application and really think about what the user is doing and try to predict to some extent in a really dumb way of counting most probably, and start hopefully to simply say, okay, this is most probably an engineer that we should know by now. This shouldn't be too hard. So let's preload the merge request. And you click on the merge request list and that's instant. That would be, I would say, pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, from assigned MRs or from the to-do list, like it's always painful in the to-do list if you're clicking something and then it loads and then you scroll to a thing and then it still loads the comments of the merge request, right? And it's like, hey, if we could all start all that and then you click on something, that would be amazing. You just jump right where you want to be, right?
Cool. That's it from my side today.
That's absolutely amazing work, team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's this classic idea that you have already for some time in your head, but you never have time. Then you simply say, okay, I need to sit down. And that's really the target. This is, I will put also the MR. There's already an MR of it, of all the changes. This is really just of I need to find a better name for it, but I used this in the past of simply showing where we can get to, even if it's not fully implemented yet. This is not going to production. This is just to show others what we can do if we are going down this path and fill all the holes that are still missing. But I really hope that, this gets the same excitement on other ends. And yeah, so. Cool. I'm not able to find the agenda at the same time. So is there any other topics? Otherwise, I'm happy to close today's meeting and give you back.
Well, just one thing, Tim. If you're interested, I would like to send you this merge request, or like it's the issue actually, but the in-context editing of snippets, so that we could figure out like shared ideas of how the how this works for files and for snippets, and
yeah,
why not for anything else.
Perfect.
Yep. Cool. I'll do it on the research performance. Okay.
Cool. And I will add the R the second, and for the rest, it was really great to see everyone, and see you soon. Take care.